When someone asks about your childhood and you hesitate, not because it was horrific, not because it was blank, but because it feels incomplete. Like somewhere between 7 and 17, entire chapters went missing, not erased, just skipped. And you don't quite know how to explain that gap without sounding dramatic. That's what we're talking about. There's a quiet phenomenon that happens when childhood ends before it's supposed to. Not in a cinematic, made-for-TV way. Often it's subtle. You start cooking dinner for your younger siblings at 9 because your parent is working a double shift. You become the emotional translator between adults who can't speak to each other calmly. You learn to read tension in a room before you learn long division. Nothing catastrophic on paper, but something shifts, and the version of you who grew up too fast doesn't disappear. They just keep running the system. Picture an 8-year-old who suddenly becomes the most responsible person in the house, not because they volunteered, because someone had to be. Psychologists call this parentification, when a child takes on adult roles and responsibilities. But that clinical word doesn't capture the weight of it. It doesn't describe being small and holding something far bigger than you. Researcher Dr. Lisa M. Hooper has studied this extensively. Parentified children often appear mature beyond their years, composed, capable, reliable. But what looks like maturity is often adaptation. It's a nervous system calibrating itself to crisis as the baseline. What felt normal to you might have been someone else's emergency, and that calibration lingers. Kids who grow up this way often develop remarkable skills. They read emotions instantly. They sense shifts in tone the second someone walks through the door. They anticipate needs before they're spoken. They problem solve without hesitation because hesitation wasn't an option. But those strengths come with a hidden invoice. What saves you at 8 can cost you at 38. Here's the paradox. Adults who grew up too fast can handle big crises with impressive steadiness. Layoffs, illness, financial stress. They move into action mode almost automatically. It's the small things that destabilize them. Asking for help feels foreign. Resting feels indulgent. Being carefree feels reckless. When you learned early that stability depended on you holding it together, your brain built an operating system around that belief, and it's still running in the background. If this moved you, comment 9 right now. If it didn't, comment 0. Your voice matters. Take 1 second and share it. In adulthood, this often looks like being the dependable one, the friend everyone calls in a crisis, the co-worker who quietly fixes problems before anyone notices. You may find yourself drawn to people who need rescuing, not because you have a savior complex, but because being needed feels like love. It's the template you learned. Intimacy can feel complicated. Vulnerability once carried risk. So even in safe relationships, part of you resists lowering your guard. You might gravitate toward emotionally unavailable partners, not out of self-sabotage, but because unpredictability feels familiar. It feels like home. And consistent, steady love can feel strangely uncomfortable, like you're waiting for something to go wrong. Control often becomes another theme, not necessarily in overt, domineering ways. More subtle. You plan meticulously. You anticipate problems. You replay scenarios before they happen. People might label you anxious, perfectionistic, type A, but what they're seeing is a nervous system trained to equate unpredictability with danger. That vigilance is exhausting. The kind of exhaustion sleep doesn't fix, because it isn't physical fatigue. It's years of operating in quiet overdrive. Your body never fully learned what rest feels like. Rest once meant things might fall apart. There's also a complicated relationship with achievement. You accomplish things, real things. You meet goals. You exceed expectations. And yet it rarely feels like enough. There's always another benchmark, another metric, another proof point. When your worth became entangled with your usefulness early on, success can feel less like celebration and more like maintenance. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The world often rewards this pattern. Society loves people who grew up too fast. We're productive, independent, low maintenance. We don't require much support. We get things done. But nobody asks what it cost. Another invisible skill emerges. Fluency in emotional labor. You manage tension in rooms before it escalates. You smooth over conflict. You ensure everyone else feels comfortable. You track moods like a conductor tracks tempo. And it's so automatic you may not even notice you're doing it, except it slowly drains you. You can be surrounded by people and still feel profoundly alone. Not because you lack company, but because no one sees the effort you're expending to keep everything stable. Asking for acknowledgement feels almost shameful, like admitting you can't handle the one role you mastered. So what do you do with this? How do you heal something that doesn't look like a single traumatic event, but 1,000 small adaptations? First, you grieve, not theatrically, honestly. You grieve the childhood that required too much from you, the version of you who could have been messy and needy and irresponsible and still been safe. That child deserved space to grow at a human pace. Naming that isn't bitterness, it's clarity. Second, you disentangle being needed from being valued. They are not the same. Being useful can earn appreciation, but being valued means you matter, even when you're not performing. You are not a human doing, you are a human being, and being is enough. That means learning to rest without earning it first. Learning to ask for support without prepaying incompetence. Learning that your needs do not make you inconvenient. You are also allowed to be new at receiving care. If you're 30, 40, 50, that doesn't change the fact that you may never have learned how to let someone else carry weight for you. That skill has to be practiced, slowly, imperfectly, and it can feel uncomfortable at first, like wearing shoes that don't fit yet. But the child who carried everything for so long doesn't need to run the system forever. They did an extraordinary job surviving. They were resourceful, observant, brave in ways no child should have to be. But survival is not the same as living. And adulthood offers something childhood didn't: choice. Choice to recalibrate your nervous system. Choice to let silence be safe. Choice to allow unpredictability without assuming catastrophe. Choice to trust someone else to handle things sometimes. Healing doesn't erase your strengths. It contextualizes them. It allows you to keep the emotional intelligence, the resilience, the capacity for responsibility without letting them define your worth. You don't have to give up competence to gain softness. You don't have to abandon reliability to experience rest. You can be capable and cared for. The question becomes this: if you've been gripping the wheel your entire life, what would it feel like to loosen your hands, just slightly? What would it feel like to let someone else steer for a moment? Not because you failed, but because you're finally safe enough to stop running the show. And maybe the most radical thing you can do now isn't achieve more. It's rest. It's receive. It's allow that younger version of you, the one who held everything together, to step back. You don't have to carry it alone anymore. What would it feel like to believe that? If any part of this felt uncomfortably familiar, that's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign that your nervous system did what it had to do to survive. Growing up too fast wasn't a personality trait. It was an adaptation. And adaptations are powerful, but they're not meant to run your life forever. You are allowed to question the roles you stepped into. You are allowed to outgrow them. You are allowed to rest without proving you've earned it. The fact that you carried so much for so long doesn't mean you have to keep carrying it alone. Healing isn't about erasing your strength. It's about letting that strength coexist with softness, with support, with the possibility that you don't always have to be the responsible one. If this resonated, take a moment to like this video so it can reach someone else who grew up too fast. Share it with someone who needs permission to put the weight down. And subscribe for more psychological deep dives into the patterns that shape us long after childhood ends. You survived. Now you get to live differently.